Skill Tha Lightmare here. So, man, no topic necessarily. We'll talk a little bit about, favor, identity, and purpose and things like that. But for the most part, just a free dialogue, and I just got to start doing more lives because I don't be doing lives and I don't use the tools that I really have to use to spread messages and to enlighten or whatever the case may be. So, and if you're tapping in, um, go ahead and shout out who you are, where you're from. But yeah, let me go ahead and share this out. Give me just a moment. Let's see. All right. So, it'll be maybe like 5 minutes or 3 to 5 minutes. I'm just going to share this out a little bit. And then if you tapping in, just go ahead and, hit the chat. Let me know who you are, where you from. If you need prayer for something, if you got a question. What's up, my hog? Prince Infinite, you know what I'm saying? The one and only, you know what I'm saying? Two ministries. I just got to do more lives. So I'm just hopping on. I don't got necessarily a topic, but as I said earlier, we're going to talk about purpose, about favor, about identity, focus, and things of that nature. I'm just going to share this out. If I can find where it is. All right. So share. And if you guys got any questions, type them in. Or if you're just watching, type who you are, where you're from. I'll shout you out. If you got any question or you need prayer for anything, or you know somebody that needs prayer, go ahead and type it in the chat. And, we'll go ahead and make sure that that is done or handled. Post and then share, copy. All right. But yeah, hopefully everybody's afternoon is going well. But yeah, I'm writing a book. I'm doing a lot of stuff right now, working on like 2 albums. I got a lot going. I just be kind of busy in the daytime, in the community. Of course I rap, but I definitely don't want to be like judged by how well I rap about spreading the gospel and being in the community. I'd rather actually be spreading the gospel in the community, not like, being recognized for how well I rap about it, but, if so, recognized by doing it in general. So I noticed that there's a lot of people with a lot of struggles these days. A lot of people have anxiety, depression, all these different factors, hopelessness, abandonment, all these different scenarios, from traumas and betrayals and things like that. And guess what? We all still have to walk out this walk of faith and belief in God. And that's kind of hard to do when you actually add on those pieces of baggage, as far as, you're trying to serve God and love your neighbor with a backpack full of betrayal, a backpack full of anxiety, a backpack full of anger, a backpack full of unforgiveness while you're climbing up the mountain or up the highway to heaven. That's it makes it a lot more difficult when you hold on to those things. And some of the things may not necessarily be your fault that the things were done to you, but how you respond is your responsibility. What is your ability to respond? You have a responsibility, which means you're able to do the right thing in certain situations. You're able to make the right decision. It's just whether or not you've trained your mind and fed your spirit the necessary food and resources to be able to respond the right way and have the right response. Because we all have responsibilities. We all have the ability to respond appropriately to situations. Like, for instance, we all have to maybe drive to work or go to the store or whatever, go get our tire changed, and we have to wait in a line. What if somebody steps on your shoes or cuts in front of you and you're supposed to be reflecting the kingdom? Because somebody did something to you, does that license you to misbehave or give the wrong response? No, we're able to respond appropriately. It's just, have we trained that muscle? Have we done the proper preparation and the proper disciplines to actually be prepared in that time of like trial, or that in that valley of decision? Somebody stares at you crazy, or speeds past you, get out of the way, jerk, on the freeway, and you like, you back out the window, who are you talking to, and speeding up, trying to catch up, you know, and again, that's hurtful when people do those things to you and they make you want to respond or give a certain response. Is that response appropriate? And then are you able to have the appropriate response? Are you response able? Are you responsible? Are you able to respond appropriately? And I believe we kind of all are. It's just whether or not, everybody can bench press, it's just whether or not your arms are conditioned, and then how much weight you can bench. Unless there's people that just have had surgery or something, a rotator cuff torn, and maybe they can't, are not able at the moment, and but so in these lives, I just want to kind of speak and do lives. Mainly, that's the objective. Is I'm going to be accountable to using these platforms with my gifts and the information and wisdom God's given me, and to use it and not let it die inside of me. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. And so, yeah, if you guys do have any questions, praise reports, anything like that, I definitely would want to, see what's going on, in your life. Um, the heck? I ain't typing that. Just sharing this live a little bit, but, yeah, I mean, as far as updates with me, I am, doing my thing as far as music, as far as writing, recording, not as much as I should. But in the community, doing outreach, working with youth, just being available, lending a hand and an ear and a shoulder, in certain situations. And I believe that that's very important. All of my endeavors and aspirations are, whatever, but being a decent human being to your neighbor, is very important, because you're also, if you're doing it unto them, you're doing it unto God as well. So I aim to challenge myself to be better and better every day. I don't have it all together. I be doing stuff I am supposed to do or shouldn't do, or um, I don't know everything. There's things I'm still learning, biblically, historically, all these certain, scenarios in life. But it's always good to at least do that with other people. So I do try to keep myself in person Bible studies and in person fellowship, weekly, daily if possible, especially as a male, as a man. Definitely want to be sharpened, want to sharpen others, and not be above circumstance. Never be a victim of circumstance, because God is not subject to circumstance, nor his power or authority. And so if God told you to do something or promised you something, circumstances don't affect God's word, promises, or final say. If God tells you you're going to the promised land and you start going there and you run into a Red Sea, due to God's word not ever returning void, the sea will just part and you can go. If you have no food and you're in the middle of the desert, God said you're going to eat, he's going to feed you, he'll drop bread and manna out of the sky. God's word is sure. It's dependable. It's credible. It's never lacking any type of um, effectiveness, and so these are just some things maybe you need to be reminded of. Maybe you need to um, dwell on, meditate on, just soak in. But yeah, this world that we live in is definitely trying to fantasy, feed you fantasy, and feed you um, discontentment, where you're not content. You're not satisfied by anything that this instant gratification world offers you. And as you try to chase these things, you move off of your post. You move away from purpose. You move away from calling. You move away from identity. And that is just one of the enemy's main goals, is to confuse you of your identity, of your calling, and of your purpose, and of your function. So the way that you have to stay centered and stay focused and stay diligent in your purpose and identity with Christ, the Messiah, is to spend time with the Father intimately, daily prayer. I missed my finger. Daily prayer, um, daily meditating on the word, um, you know, very, very, very frequent fellowship. There's times to pull yourself away, as the Messiah did in the wilderness, or fasting, or in the garden, or whatever the case may be, to just pray and have no distraction and focus. But then there's, time to be the body, bear each other's burdens, and serve one another and get revelation and uh, enlightenment through acts of service. As you serve people, as you are being the hands and feet of Jesus to other people in their times of need, whether they need strength or encouragement or resources or whatever, as you're in the process of him providing you the resources to administer to others, a lot of times you're learning more lessons and being conditioned and prepared for what the Most High has for you individually. And so this live is, number one, just me being accountable to start going live and start dialoguing and using the things that are in me to share on these platforms that we have. I have a camera, I have internet, I have a YouTube account. So why not use it, to the glory of God? And then secondly, just to talk about identity, purpose, favor, and focus, and how when those things are lacking, You may find yourself jam packed full of anxiety and depression and trauma, abandonment, um, all these definite things. What's up, Miss Valdez? Blessing, sister. Thank you for tapping in. But yeah, so, and then as I said earlier, before you were on, if you have any praise reports, any prayer requests, if you have no other people that need prayer and have a prayer request, or if you have a question about anything, go ahead and drop it in the chat, and we can dive into that. A current event, something you've seen in the news or a scripture you have a question about, or that you just think is a powerful one. Any of those things while I'm talking, feel free to, do any of those things. But I'm more so going to just kind of be talking about favor and purpose and identity and why those things are very important. And a lot of what you see on the internet proves that people are not focused on those things. People are spending hours and hours of just distraction online when every tick of time is passing. You never can go backwards. Every second that we move forward in time towards the future is something spent. So how we spend every tick, every second, we're closer to the end and closer to whatever happens, closer to this or that. So these times we need to spend it gathering information, gathering wisdom, gathering people to impact, gathering family, brethren, sisters, and gathering resources, gathering good habits, getting rid of bad habits, learning the word, drawing closer to God, working through forgiveness, working through getting rid of anger and any of these qualities of the flesh that may hinder us from bearing the image of God that we were created in. And those are just some of the things that I just like to kind of dialogue about and give people tips and tricks on how to utilize your responsibility, your response abilities. In certain situations, I believe you are able to give the appropriate response. Whether someone disrespects you, someone just gets you twisted or something like that. I believe if you apply yourself and you are diligent in your fasting and praying and staying close to the Most High, most situations you can respond appropriately and not inappropriately. Whether somebody cuts you off while you're on the freeway, or somebody does anything like types to you crazy on the internet, or says something about a family member, or all these different things, the ways the devil tries to find a little crack in the door to creep into your life or into your mental, into your mind, to distract you or get you in your feelings or in your emotions or into fantasy land, into a lot of what do they call them? Just unrealistic expectations of other people. There's a lot of that, because of the internet and Instagram posts. You have all these so-called goals, relationship goals, because you're seeing the Instagram posts of the couple on the yacht and they sell 1 million rubber bands a month and make $1 million, and they got a Ferrari and a pool and all that. You're looking, that's what I want. And then you judge men by what they don't have, or you judge women by how come you can't do that and do this, and thank you, enigmatic enigmatic reacts. God bless you. Thank you for chiming in. And Yeah, we just definitely need to build each other up and just drop wisdom. I could literally be using this exact time to be gossiping about somebody. Man, you see what the president did, or you see this new law, you see what CNN said, or you see the high price of this, or you see how much groceries is, you see the taxes, you see what China did, you heard this new rap song, this person, that person, and we've seen this new movie. I don't like how that actor, they don't know how to do that role the right way. They shouldn't have made a part two. All these things you can gossip and complain about, but it's like, hey, how come we don't use these times to just speak wisdom, speak encouragement, speak meekness, and speak edification? We all have to share this world. We all have this world full of doubt, adversity, betrayal, abandonment, abuse, and we're all navigating through these things, trying, well, not trying, but, pushing towards keeping the correct posture and the correct responses, within us, to where when, like the Messiah, he was not ever caught off guard when someone praised him or disrespected him. He already knew how he was going to handle it. He responded accordingly. He was responsible. He was able to respond appropriately in heated situations and in calm situations. And a lot of times when we're not able to, or when we choose not to respond appropriately in certain situations, it costs us consequences. Yesterday at work, God had me talk to a homeless lady, and dang, it disappeared. I didn't see it. Um, Let me see if I can pull it back up. Um, where did it go? Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I don't know if you can tell me the last part again, but yeah, I don't know why it disappeared that fast, but because I'm using the phone, not like the computer, so it's like they pop up and disappear. But yeah, being very spiritually sensitive and alert these days will save you a lot of, consequences, heartache, trauma, hard times. If you are, feel like whatever energy you put out there, you're going to get back. If you put out negative energy, you get negative back. Put out positive energy, you get positive back. Um, yeah, to a degree, that's mostly like that's the formula. There are, certain instances, just because God's plan supersedes anything you do. You know, no, we not dissing Android in here. We diss iPhones over here. Um, but yeah, they're like, because some people, that's how they bet their life. Is like, um, I'm gonna just do all this stuff and kind of ride along. I'm gonna just, it's like, because there's no, like, there's all adversity always comes in general. The reason why is because you have to be tested. Like, I can't just give you something shiny and say this is gold, and then you just buy it and it's like, okay, cool, and you try to go sell it. But when you try to go sell it, before they give you money for it, they're gonna test it. And guess what they test it with? Fire. When they put the gold in the little solution or whatever, with heat. Once they apply the heat, all the impurities surface, to see if it's gold, or if it is gold, if it's pure. And that's what it is with certain situations. So sometimes you're still going to get negative, even though you put positive out, just because God has a certain plan. he's doing, just like Joseph in the Bible. Joseph did the right stuff. He did not entertain Potiphar's wife's advances, and he still got put in prison. He did positive, and he still received negative. You know, and then when he told the baker and the what is the other guy? I forget. The baker and the other guy. I forget right now. I literally was just talking about that. But um, they forgot him. For a minute. They eventually remembered him, but it's like again negative. He's left in prison. So not necessarily all the time you do positive, you're going to be met with positive. Sometimes the negative is just fire to purify you as pure gold. And that's why you just have to have the right responses. You have to have the appropriate response for all situations. The inappropriate responses have consequences. Yeah, yeah, that was just for him, but I think he's gone now. But yeah, these are things that I just hop on here to share. I'll probably title this later and chop it up and make little reels and stuff out of the good parts. Um, but yeah, I definitely just want to share information, you know, and as people start to engage or interact, like Miss Valdez be showing love. She could be doing anything else right now, but she's hopped on the live with skill. So salute. Um, and it's much appreciated. But yeah, as this world so-called turns, I don't know exactly how all that works. I ain't been to so-called outer space or none of that. But as time goes or as time passes, um, we have to get better and better. We have to grow, gain wisdom and gain more wisdom and mature, just like a tree. A tree, if it's planted with soil and water, it can't stay a seed. It has to start turning into a plant and then into a tree. Making your clove tea, boom. I got some of that too. It's actually blackberry. It's blackberry spice tea with clove. Yeah, clove is strong. I used to use that for like toothaches. So yeah, I see you know what's up with the cloves. Even in that, we gotta be showing each other health benefits and health hacks and stuff like that. All we have is our one body, And so all the time that's spent just binge watching sports, gossiping about celebrities and gossiping about friends and family and complaining about government entities. All that time that is spent doing that could be spent edifying other people, admonishing other people and yourself, you know. And so, some people they just don't kick wisdom, even like in the hood or in the streets. Like they say, there's not a lot of they say it's a whole lot of free to homie and not enough. Hey, don't do that, bro. You know, we sure do. Our environment is crazy. It is definitely supernaturally dark. You know, but God reigns and God is light and we are light. And so we same way you can like the same way you can see my face, like somewhere right now in this same city or same country, there's somebody having the worst time of their life in this free, so-called free country and all that with electronics and liberty and all that. They're getting beat up by life. And I'm in that same life. I'm in that same society, the same city, but look at my face. I got stuff I can complain about right now. I don't have a lot of the things that, I would like to have. And I lose people. I get, I mean, I don't necessarily get mistreated or like nothing really happens to me like that. Um, if it does, I don't know about it then. But there's just a lot of like it's it's what you're made of. Sometimes the wind blows and then the strong trees don't move. And then the weak trees, they sway back and forth and all that. Same wind, but the trees are built different. And so in this, somebody right now is complaining about some bill being passed or complaining about this or that and the Democrats and Republicans and tariffs and all that, and this country is going down the gutter, or the gentrification, just all these scenarios, or ICE and deportation, all these scenarios, which again are very serious, but again, it's like there's stuff serious for literally everybody. And so it's like, what are you going to do about it? If nothing, you know, like with me, I don't like the way the environment that the hood offers people. So I hop up in them hoods and try to inspire and impact the environment. I'm not going to just sit around and complain. You're liable to see me pop up in your hood with, some homies to, administer love and all that, or just by myself. Like, because I'm not going to just sit and complain, but a lot of people spend the time that they could be pouring into others or like listening to audiobooks, reading the Bible, reading, like self-improvement books and taking a class or something like that. There's a lot of time that people can spend um, appropriately and effectively and for growth and advancement. And instead, they use it to complain. And there's a difference between complaining and then you being like you having a calling on your life to bring awareness to something, you know, like Moses was not necessarily complaining about the condition of the Israelites. That was his calling to go to Pharaoh and bring up all these scenarios. Hey, you're doing this, you're doing that, let the people go. But even in that, he still was doing something about it. He wasn't just, oh man, my people is this is happening to them. Pharaoh's always doing this. They done took the straw away from the bricks and they making us do twice as many and like just complaining and then going to sleep. Like without no action. That's fruitless. Fruitless trees. Fruitless trees, eventually become firewood, So me personally, doing this live, I could be on the phone right now. I could be scrolling memes right now, all kind of unproductive things. And so I'm just trying to hold myself accountable to get a couple of hours in every week on live and doing content. I don't have, like I said, necessarily a topic, but and then my strengths and a lot of my focal point within the things that I convey is going to be based on purpose, identity, and favor. Those are like the three things you're going to have like all my music be about, all my lives, all my videos, all my teachings, curriculums, all the things that I eventually have to offer to the world, workshops, seminars, conferences. they're all going to be kind of based around identity, favor, and purpose. Because those are the things that if you don't have, you're just wandering around. You don't have the purpose for why you exist, but you're existing. That's crazy to just be existing. You wake up and just hang out with my friends, scroll Netflix, drink some Starbucks, gossip, and scroll my timeline and go to sleep. And that's what you feel your life is based on. That's crazy. I sure do. Yeah, that's where I be. Um, but yeah, so the time that God gives you, you appreciate it more when you know your purpose, because then you use that time to fulfill your purpose. If not, you feel like your time is leisure, or you feel it's punishment when you're like have an anxiety problem or depression. Time is like a punishment. That's a lot of times why people unalive themselves. They feel like their life is like a sentence, or like a jail sentence, and every day they have to wake up in a prison into a fruitless, meaningless life, and they rather not. But then also, when you think life's a game, oh yeah, definitely. Um, I mean, you name it: steak, tacos, burritos, pizza, pasta, chicken, rice, all of them things, waffles, pancakes, food. That's what's up with me. You know, um, all of that. But yeah, these are things that as I learn every day, I want to just try to um, deliver information as I find better ways to do it. Right now, the most convenient way is to just turn on YouTube right now and just talk with no notes, no script, no nothing, just me. But um, all of our lives are intentionally, birthed by God, each and every one. So as we exist, we need to be fulfilling purpose. That's the that is the purpose, is for us to be purposefully fulfilling our purpose. That's our purpose. And so this life journey that we're in, like I said, is very, very unwise to waste time. You can never get time back. No person has ever figured that out, how to get time back that has been spent. It's not, as far as I know, it's not possible. So the time you do have, you want to spend it wisely, edifying others, equipping yourself, inclining your ear to wisdom, and loving your neighbor, staying away from evil, battling the flesh, the different temptations of, anger, revenge, lust, envy, all these things, pride, that are like viruses and cancers to your purpose, you know, because the biggest war, and I'm gonna say this like all the time in a lot of my lives, a lot of my music, it's gonna be good versus evil. You want your ministry to be through working out. I want to do that, but I'm just like probably not going to. I just kind of work out kind of by myself, for the most part. But that would be dope. I do know people that do that. So yeah, I mean, if you want your ministry to be working out, what are you going to do about it? What steps are you going to take? What action plan are you going to write out? When are you going to start? When are you going to assess the progress? when you make progress, how are you gonna celebrate? You know, all those things you have to kind of, if that's what you want to do, how are you going to light a fire under that and fan the flame? If that may be something great. And then, like you said, it may be ministry. And what is ministry? Ministry literally is just a synonym for servitude. A minister is a servant. They're literally synonyms. It just means serve. Just like the person at the restaurant that's serving, that's a minister. you know. Hey, that's what's up. Yeah. Health is wealth. There's people that, sacrifice their health for money, all the way until they end up having to sacrifice their money for their health. You know, they live how they want, disregard their health to get the bag, eat crazy, stay up all night, just really put their health through the ringer. Then they end up not in health and they have to put their money and bank account through the ringer to try to get back health. So health is priceless. It's something that we all need. Your body is the only place you have to live. There's nowhere else for you to live except in your one body. So you have to take care of that. So I try to. I'm very on and off with that. I got a whole treadmill right there, a huge one. But how many times have I turned it on? Maybe 5 times. So, definitely got to do more with that. Like I said, fitness, music, ministry, all those things, I can always do more. But intact and wisely. And also, if you guys can like, share, and subscribe, I think that I'm supposed to say that kind of stuff on the lives. Like, share, subscribe, and then I got the super chats. If you guys, want to donate and stuff like that, because I am gonna, if I put very few things online. It looks like I'm posting a lot. A lot of stuff is, really just like old or repurposed, but I don't put a lot online. But if you follow me, you know that I actually really go out. I really tend to people. I really have people that I try to help and make things happen for. So if you do, or if you are led to give, both your treadmills broke, so you go hiking. I'll be going hiking. You know, in these little trails out here, the South Mountain, what's that? Pistilla Peak, North Mountain, all these little spots. What's that? Superstition Mountains, all these little places around here. But yeah, if you feel led, you can always do the little super chat. It lets you put gifts. You can actually do a membership where you can pay monthly, and then I'll do like exclusive content. That only you can pretty much only subscribers will have access to. But yeah, I'm definitely not one of those, you know, greedy. I just want to get money. Christians per se. I really will put things. Man, them stairs. I ain't been there in a minute, but I've been to the stairs. Um, you can go up and down a couple times, and there's some people that go around the back and actually do that hike. I didn't do that. I just did the stairs. I'm not. I wasn't down. I wasn't about that life. On whatever's behind there, I didn't do it. But yeah, I just want to plug that as well. Like, share, subscribe, super chat. Um, what's that thing? I got a Patreon, but I don't know. I don't necessarily promote a lot of those, um, like, financial things yet. But there is a lot of things that I do want to do community wise, right? We do want to pull up into neighborhoods and actually ask people, what do you need? Because I mean, I do that. You pull up somewhere, sit at a liquor store all day in some community. Hey, need prayer for something? They're gonna tell you. I do it all the time. People will tell you what they need prayer for. Hey, my brother's in jail, or hey, I need some Pampers, or my baby daddy need lawyer fees, or bail money, or my grandmother or my auntie or uncle got this illness and they need medicine or prescriptions. There's people with needs that do take finances. And I aim to, be somewhat of a tool of alleviation of people's distress, you know. So as I, do more content and get more awareness, I am going to put together initiatives to raise like money and resources, and not even like necessarily just like money, but like the things, whatever people need. Some people may need a new bed. Some people's like their pillow may look like a tea bag. They had the same pillow for 15 years, or they need shoes, or they I don't know. There's people just have needs, and some people don't care. And then some people, it drives them crazy. And me, I have a hard time watching people go through something, even if they deserve it, you know? So, yeah, I just say all that to say that as I start doing more lives and doing more content, please, like, share, subscribe, comment, um, give, or the super chat thing. I don't think I ever got a super chat before. But yeah, like the people be hurting, man. And like I said, I can take a lot. I've been in a lot of harsh conditions, so I can kind of smile through things. But not everybody's like that. Yeah, people's pillow inside that pillowcase is like, bro, that's supposed to be white. That's a elderberry color. That's bad. So yeah, people really be just needing things. And everything is not, oh, that's not my problem, or they should have, everybody got to get their own stuff. Like, I don't believe in none of that. And me, myself, I've been the recipient of a lot of grace and resources and just giving. What up, GPS Rob? Austin, Texas. I was out there last year in Georgetown and Austin and all that. I don't know if you was there, but I was there. And that's where I did my supercharged favorite video at, right there. So if you from there, or you was there, or you in the video, I don't know. Salute to you, salute to your family, salute to your friends. And if you need prayer for anything, we have a prayer request or a praise report, feel free to drop it in the chat. What's up, Carolyn? Carolyn is an awesome supporter. Really goes out her way to first super chat ever. I ain't never got a super chat ever, but Carolyn just made history. So as I move on to whatever level God takes me, I'ma remember you seen it. What was that? April, whatever this is, April 21st. Carolyn Wilson did the first super chat ever. Like, imagine the person that gave Bill Gates like his first $10 or something. They probably feel good about that. Not that he was probably ever poor, but yeah, I appreciate that, and appreciate you, Carolyn, always sharing and liking, and I definitely see that, and it's as as far as you others as well, and even you, Miss Valdez, I know you try to kind of stay active, supporting. So definitely appreciate you guys. And, of course, GPS Rob, thank you for tapping in and commenting. Some people just lurk, and then I'm just here like on live. Hey guys, anybody there? Looking goofy. So when you guys interact and type, and whether you just LOL and emoji or whatever, just kind of let me know you're there. It's all appreciated. But yeah, you know, I do like have a lot of it's weird to say, but I do have like a lot of wisdom. People tell me all the time, but I'm more conversational and I'm very like confidential. So, Miriam, well, Miriam it is, the homie Miriam. Um, I definitely appreciate you. Um, Interacting and supporting and being here. You literally could be doing anything right now, but you chopping it up here. I'm gonna have a lot more like topics and stuff. And right now I got like what 4 people in or 5, but once I'm at like 80 people and you know 200 people, 1,300 people on, and I have like a lot of stuff going. Definitely gonna have like a lot of dropping a lot of gems. I do really want to like help people. That's just one of my purposes. Is to do that. So I do it even like for free. Like it's just what I do. And I see a lot of people kind of like stuck in the glue of life. Just, man, I can't get out of this particular pit that I always get stuck in, or this addiction, or this bad behavior pattern, or this mental state. And people are just be trapped and be victims of their own selves and victims of their own consequences. And a lot of it is just certain behaviors you got to tweak, and certain mindsets you have to get rid of and give to God and allow Him to transform you. But sometimes it has to be confronted, and God has given me a lot of favor in that area. I'm able to tell people all kinds of things that normally other people can't tell them. Like I get to tell people, hey, you're being ignorant. Hey, stop doing that. Hey, you're just doing that because this, or you just like, stuff that normally sounds rude, but it's the truth. And somebody needs to tell them. And if you're in certain scenarios, if you're not me, like they'll probably do something to you over you talking crazy to them. But I get to say it because somehow people just know, like, yeah, I know you're saying that out of love and you don't mean anything negative by you coming at me that way. And you know what? I think you're right. Actually, what you said is right. I do be tripping, you know? And so, I don't, not necessarily, just rather skill, you know? I don't necessarily desire any, positions like that. At best, teacher, the Bible says teachers receive greater condemnation and all that, but I'll take it, because I the Bible also talks about what you do with your talents. And if I have this talent and I don't multiply it and use it, I'm gonna be accountable for that. You know. All right, Miriam, appreciate you hopping in the chat and hopping in the live. Your presence is valued, and God bless you. Have a great night. Um, but yeah, for the rest of you, one thing that I do want you guys to know is your purpose. One thing I want you to have is your true identity, not some fancy quote or we're all children of God and I'm a soldier in the army of the Lord. Like just these random things, like who you actually are, and like owning it and behaving accordingly. Behaving and functioning according to your purpose 100% of the time. That's very vital because outside of that is just a bunch of consequences. And I'll be looking all kind of other ways into accepting the camera lens. So if I look goofy, pardon me. I think I'm looking at the actual lens now, but the importance of knowing your identity is very vital, because if you don't have your identity, this world is going to give you a ton of them. And then you're going to have personality disorders, schizophrenia, and all these other types of things, borderline and OCD and NPD and all the PDs, because you're not anchored, you're not grounded securely and firmly in and rooted in your one true identity, you know? And so you only can get that through spending time with God. There's no other way. No other way. The reason why that's true is because what is the purpose of people existing? Why do we exist? Like literally, and I don't mean that as a random question that there's anybody can answer any kind of way. I mean as there's a factual appropriate answer for, what is the purpose of man or the purpose of people, or why did God make Adam? And he says it in the Bible, in Genesis, right before he creates Adam. He says, well, let us make man in our likeness and our image, or in our image and our likeness. So the purpose of Adam is to reflect God's image and likeness. That's his purpose. Now, how is he going to do that? And then how are we going to do that? If you wanted to reflect me, it's pretty much like almost impersonate, Now for you to go, if you go, I'm out of state right now, but if you go to my hometown of San Bernardino, or just anywhere in Southern California where I'm from, trying to impersonate me, you better do a good job, which means you better have really known me and known the things I like, the things I would say, the things I wouldn't like, the things I will and won't tolerate. And you only can know that by spending time with me. But when you spend the appropriate time with me, you're able to know me. And the Hebrew word for know is yada. And yada means to know or to experience intimately. You know how it says Adam knew Eve, like he was intimate, like joined with her. We have to be so close to God, spending time with him, that we're joined to him. And the same way as we're joined to him, we eventually will kind of start having our heart joined with his heart. Like the Bible says, David was a man after God's own heart. When your heart is synchronized with God's heart and you feel the way he feels about stuff, to where you'll say the things he would say, you won't say the things he won't say, and you don't like what he doesn't like, and you like what he likes, that's when you can pretty much impersonate him. And you'd reflect him. Like Jesus said, the only things I say is what my Father said. That's all I'm doing, is I'm a mirror. I'm like a hologram of the Father. And that's what we are to be. That's our purpose, because people out here are experiencing evil. They're experiencing abuse. They're experiencing trauma, betrayal, abandonment. This world is doing people terrible, and what would it be for you to come across these people, and they come across you, and you're just reflecting the God of Israel to them, the merciful, true, compassionate, loving creator. And you're reflecting his character to these abandoned, betrayed, and abused and neglected people that have a lot going on. And you're able to reflect, love to them, and help restore them to their proper identity and proper place in society and in God's kingdom. That is the effectiveness of walking in your purpose, in which your purpose is to reflect God. That's literally, it says that literally in the Bible. Adam was made to bear God's likeness and image. That's the only reason he exists. There's literally no other biblical reason for man or Adam to exist. Is that God wants to be reflected in the earth. And so we now the and that's everybody's purpose, but then there's like subcategories of purpose because it's like, okay, where? So one person, their purpose in life is to reflect God, but their purpose is to reflect God in the mechanic shop. So they're a mechanic. Or if somebody's their purpose is to reflect God in the a teachers association, in the school system. Or this person's purpose is to reflect God in correctional facilities. Or this person's purpose is to reflect God in arts and crafts, you know, and then that's kind of how that works, you know. And so but we can only reflect God if we are close to Him. We're syncing our heart with His. Any personal desires and personal views we sacrifice, and put those on the altar and surrender those and yield those to take on only His character. So when people see us, they don't see us, they see Him. That's literally what Adam's job was. So it says, since we've fallen, it says Christ came. What did Christ do? Reflect God. He did the rebound. And then he said, you guys will be in me as I'm in the Father. So what are we supposed to do again? Reflect God. Who is He? His word tells you. So what's your job? Get in that word. Fast, pray, and give. Be the hands and feet of God to people. Because I'm telling you, people are like, when you do outreach, you're seeing the conditions people are in, when you're going in these prisons and somebody's telling you like, I'm never getting out of here, but I still want to do something. I want to start a business through here. I want to mentor or something. Or, you're out in the streets and, people out there, hey, I've done this, I've done that. I'm out here doing drugs because I never want to be sober, because I get haunted because I've done X, Y, Z to many people, whether it's unalived a ton of people, um, assaulted people in inappropriate ways. Um, there's people that got to live with these things. They're just going through a lot of stuff. There's still restoration and forgiveness for them. There's people that ain't done nothing. They're just experiencing trouble, just like Joseph in the Bible. He didn't do nothing. Job, he didn't do anything. Still was experiencing hardship, you know. And so to always be that comforting person in the midst of darkness and then in the midst of a cloudy day, in the midst of your own trials, to still be light for someone else, strength for someone else, comfort for someone else, is reflecting God, and that's literally our duty, is to do that. So, anybody on here got any, prayer requests, anything you feel you may have learned or want to expound on, or you have a question for me? You want me to shout out your city or shout out, your family, your mom, your dad, shout out your school teacher, whatever, shout out your kids. If you know someone that needs prayer, um, definitely, type it in the chat. But yeah, purpose is very, very, very important. Identity is very, very important. Um, Favor is the key to pretty much everything as far as mankind. God's favor is safety. Without God's favor, everything's doomed and nothing is safe. Things are sustained by God's grace and favor, which in Hebrew, grace and favor are the same thing. So yeah, that's just a night of chopping it with Skill the Lightmare. If you have heard my music, salute to you. If you haven't, I'm on all platforms. SKILL ThaLightmare, just like it says on the YouTube channel. I'm on Spotify, Apple Music, um, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. I don't really use Twitter or Snapchat. I have them though. But yeah, man. Any of you guys, if you guys have any prayer requests, feel free to type them in the cheese at in the chat. If you guys want to super chat me, the button's right there. You just select the amount, and if you feel led, feel free to, drop a donation of legal tender in there. And I'm definitely, as the time goes on, gonna start trying to put together initiatives to help people. I already do, but a lot of that's just taken care of. But I'm gonna just start being more inclusive to others. Some people, they're not able to be certain places or have the opportunity to do certain things. So sometimes their only way of being involved is to give, and that's fine. Some people, they're not going to go on the missions trip. They're not going to go in the ghetto. They're not going to show up and feed the homeless or show up and volunteer at the soup kitchen or go give away the bikes and backpacks. But they'll say, hey, I can't make it. Here's some resources. Hopefully this helps. And that's fine. And some people, that's their way of still being included, is just by donations and gifts and things like that. So as I advance and start doing more things content wise, I am going to start, always giving an opportunity for you to like, share, subscribe, comment, donate, super chat, all those things. And you'll see all the things, if, we have a certain initiative, it'll be somewhat documented. I don't be out putting a camera in people's faces like that. Or look, I just gave away this or that. Look at their face when they received it. I don't want to exploit people at some of their most vulnerable moments. But you can rest assured that, as I do, like if I do like collect funds or try to put together initiatives or a give back or a something, that everything will go to its proper recipients, the community. But yeah, man, make sure that you are locked in on your identity, locked in on your purpose, and locked in uh, with God's favor. Just as a person within the favor of God. No, my bad. I'm saying my own quote backwards. Just as a person within the nation of Israel is an Israelite, a person within the favor of God is a favorite. So if you see that, my website, Favorite Society, and all the clothes is Favorite, that's my ethnicity. Hey, what do you mix with? Favor. Well, what's your race? I'm a Favorite. Some people, they may be a Jebusite, Amalekite, or whatever, but I'm a Favorite. So I breathe God's favor. His favor is in my veins, in my lungs, in my mind, and that's what sustains me. And so I pray for all of you guys that are tuned in, like sincerely. I pray for you and whatever you have going on, however your day went, good, bad, long, short, boring, action packed, however your day went, that God individually is concerned about you, individually cares about you, intentionally had you born into this world because this world was missing something. And it was you. Like literally, that, like, not as some like motivational YouTube speech, but in real life, in high definition, this world already existed, and it had the whatever government it had, the economy going, trees, mountains, factories, everything going. And God was looking around like, something's missing. And it was literally you. And then he brought you into the world. You know why that's true? Because you didn't have to be here. You could be miscarried. You could be stillborn. All these different things. Like it takes a lot to actually be all the way born. Like in the Bible, that's why it's important to believe God too, because in the Bible you have God telling Abraham he's going to be the father of many nations, and he's old. And it's like, bro, what? Like Abraham is like, that's hard to believe because number one, I'm old. I'm like 80 or whatever he is, 90, however, whatever his age is. And then God tells him he's going to be the father of many nations, right? And so it's like, okay, I'm already old. I barely work. So I'm gonna have a kid or a son, a child. I don't like to use kid. That's a goat, baby goat. We're not goats. But so he ends up having one, and then God tells him to sacrifice it. It's like, bro, to have a nation, to be a father of many nations, you have to start with one man, which means Sarah, Abraham's wife, has to have a whole 9 month successful, healthy pregnancy without nothing happening. Give birth without nothing happening. Have an infant without it rolling over in the bed and getting smashed or falling off the bed or getting bit by a snake or choking on something. Like babies are very vulnerable. To get past the infant stage to the toddler stage without hurting yourself and getting killed, then becoming a young child and then a teenager, then ending up where whatever age, Isaac was to being, hey, we got to sacrifice him. And Abraham, like, what the heck? All right, had faith in God to, like, hey, this child has to become an adult so that he can procreate, and then I can end up having at least a second one because I have to be a father of many nations. I have to start with one successfully. Then Isaac has to actually have a child, and then his wife has a successful pregnancy, a successful birth, and then a successful childhood to become of reproductive age to have another one, all the way till he becomes this father of many nations, right? So each child was very intentional. And I say that to say with you individually, like you're intentional. God literally orchestrated you being here. You could have been aborted, just not conceived, miscarried, stillborn, um, you know, complications after birth, all these scenarios that could have happened to you that God, remove those situations far from you, that you're just here. I don't know all of your conditions health wise, or if you're in a wheelchair, or how your life is, or if you're just in tip top shape. But I know if you're here watching, that's not like God can't see you and you've just made it this far. Like God's doing it on purpose. When you go outside or you're driving, God's literally keeping the other cars away from your car for them to not hit yours. He's keeping your phone from not blowing up in your hand or wherever. And like, there's a lot of things that can happen to you. Get bit by a spider right now. All these scenarios that God's actually actively protecting you from. And that's what favor is protection. So I just want each of you that's watching to know that you're not just existing. God is like literally actively protecting you. Right now, every time you inhale, God allowed that because there's people that are in the ground. But guess what? The oxygen is still here. Oxygen didn't go nowhere. Their ability to take in the oxygen has ceased. Yours can cease at any time. And when you are aware of that fact, then you understand that each breath you take is literally orchestrated and intentional and a gift from God. You're not like stealing the breath, like God's not looking. I just said 10 without him looking, like he's never not looking. So you are intentionally being kept alive on purpose. So the thing with that is, for what? Hey, to our next episode, to be continued, be it God has you alive, he has you here intentionally, and you're here for a purpose, you're here for impact, you're here It's his will, so I'm gonna go ahead and sign off. I appreciate you guys, and if you can, I challenge you to at least get into prayer for at least 10 straight minutes before you go to sleep, and read the word for at least 10 minutes. I challenge you, do not lay down or close your eyes for sleep before at least spending 10 minutes in prayer and 10 minutes in the word. If you don't have a Bible, hop on the phone, Google or Bible app, whatever the case. But really be intentional, as God is intentionally keeping you alive. Be intentional about pressing towards his character and pressing towards his presence. Like intentional, not just by habit or out of, I just have to pursue, want, desire him. So I just challenge you guys and ask you guys, even, please at least spend 10 minutes in prayer before you go to sleep and 10 minutes in the Bible. And other than that, turn on that's what I meant to say. And that it's so like, share, comment, subscribe, super chat, and turn on notifications. I forgot to say turn on notifications all those other times, saying like, share, subscribe. But yeah, like, share, subscribe, comment, turn on notifications. So I'm gonna be going live a lot more, a couple of hours every week. That's a accountability thing I'm doing right now. And then, God blessed me with my first super chat tonight. So God bless that person that shot the super chat to me. If you want a super chat, feel free to go ahead and select any amount and do that. But hopefully this night has blessed you. Get close to God, have him reveal your identity and your purpose to you, and do not deviate from it. Give God all the glory, spend time with him, love God, love your neighbor, and have supercharged favor. In Jesus' name, let me just go ahead and pray us out. Father, Lord, we just come before you and thank you for your mercifulness. We thank you for your provision, the food, clothing, and shelter you provide. We thank you for your guidance. We thank you for the wittiness, the intellect, and the minds that you've given us. We thank you for sustaining us continually. And I just lift up every viewer that has hopped on this live tonight, that you just be with them in whatever situation they're in. You know, whatever they may be going through, or what they've overcome, or what they have yet to overcome. Any fights they're fighting, any addictions they're battling, any identity crisis they may be having, anything that they're actually standing in the gap for someone else for, on the battlefield, not for their personal situation, but for someone else's. I pray for that, Father. I pray that you just continue to reveal your value, or their value, to them, how valuable they are to you, how valuable they are to this world, Father. I pray for their families. I pray for whatever type of occupation or employment situation they have, that you do not have it as an unhealthy avenue of stress, a stressful environment, or depressing environment, or a bunch of anxiety in the workplace, or from coworkers, or any bosses. Father, I pray that your presence is even in their workplace, Father. I pray for anyone that is battling with forgiveness or struggling to forgive. I'm asked that you reveal to them why that's important, and why they shouldn't play with that, as they need forgiveness themselves for things, that you give them a tender heart in those situations. I pray for those that are just actually doing well, having good accomplishments and making good money and everything's going well. I just pray that you keep them confident. As some people, they're like, man, stuff's going too good and they're looking for red flags. I just pray that you give them peace of mind, Father. I pray that you draw them close to you, as close as possible. I pray that they are able to stand against sin. I pray that they're showing love to their communities. I pray that if they're a man, they're being the man of their house, and they are being a role model and a stand up guy. And I pray if they're a female or a woman, that they are being a virtuous and uh, modest and example to the younger women, and respecter of the older women, and that their households are in order, Father, and that their family loves them, Father, and they love their families. Family is under attack, Father. I just pray for all the viewers that they have you in their heart, you in their mind, and your word in their hands, and all their deeds line up with what your word says. And if they're struggling with bad habits, that you help them break those bad habits. If they are battling with any kind of substance abuse, whether it's so-called drugs or so-called food, whether they are eating 3 and 4 pieces of cheesecake or they're doing fentanyl and meth, either of those things are substance abuse, Father. And we just pray that if they're depressed or feeling empty or having a void, that they do not try to replace your presence with substances, Father. And I just pray that you give them freedom. I pray that, I'm a resource. They can tune in and see me run my mouth about your goodness, for as long as I can, you know, for as many days as I can throughout the week, Father. And everything else, the rest. And you're great. You're awesome. We praise your name. We lift up your name. We thank you for deliverance and for victory and for authority and for effectiveness. And in Jesus' name, amen. God bless you guys. And I may not be able to go on tomorrow night, but please turn on the notifications. The way my life is, I don't necessarily, you know, can't like schedule a live right now, but I tend to at least go on every other day. It's Monday. If I do go on tomorrow, it'll probably be earlier in the day, like noonish or something like that. But salute to you guys. God bless you. And I'm out.